Hello, friends. It is good to see you all. I am just chilling out for a little while. I thought that I would come on, stream a little bit, and, also check out some news stories. But, not the classic, not the current astoundingly annoying news. I mean, there are going to be people talking endlessly about the new Twitter developments or the, Supreme Court. Pardon me while I drink. I thought it would be nice to just look at some other news. So we're going to check out some news stories and see what is going on in the world that isn't necessarily leading to the demise of Western civilization. So let's get up ye old news feed and see what we got here. We've got 25-year-old message in a bottle found during beach cleanup. Let's see what that's about. Oh God, why can't we? I really need to find a reader that'll put this shit in dark mode. Well, that's unfair. Anyway, what's the picture say? If you find this and my postcode, put the phone number and the... okay. Self-doxing. Let's see. A badly damaged message in a bottle found by a Scottish canoe club during a beach cleanup turned out to have been put into the water by a young student about 25 years earlier. David Shand? We're going to go with Shand. By the way, general apologies for pronunciations that I get wrong. David Shand, who found the plastic bottle while participating in Petland Canoe Club's beach cleanup at a coastline inlet in the Akumister area, said the small piece of paper inside was extremely faded and difficult to read. I hate giving other people advertising on my stream. I may have to ad block this. The note appeared to have been written by a young girl named Lynn, but only the first few letters of her surname were legible. Photos of the bottle were circulated on Facebook, and the note was shared with staff at Roth's primary school, which seemed likely to have been the young girl's school based on the information gleaned from the damaged note. The former student was eventually identified as Lynn Mighton, now named Lynn Gardner. Gardner said she threw the message in a bottle into the water near the school, where it was apparently carried away by the River Spey. She was 7 or 8 when she wrote the note, making it about 25 years old. Shan said he talked with Gardner on the phone, and he is now mailing the note back to her. That's nice. I wonder, let's see, so 25 years ago would be 1990, 20 years ago would be 2003. So it would be 1997. So that was a tail end of the grunge era, right? Would it have, was the note wrapped in flannel with a pair of ripped jeans? I don't know. Wallaby or kangaroo found running loose on a Kansas highway. That's interesting. Police in Kansas said a wallaby or young kangaroo spent the night in a jail cell after running loose on the highway. That seems harsh. Like, what exactly did the wallaby do to get incarcerated? Was the wallaby's taillight broken? You know, were they weaving on the road? I already need more information here. Let's see. The Edwardsville Police Department said police and animal control officers responded alongside the Bonger Springs The Boner Springs Police Department. By the way, Bonner, third time's a charm. It's Bonner Springs Police Department. When a small kangaroo was reported on Interstate 435, the marsupial was brought back to the police station for the night. It was not clear whether the animal was a wallaby or a young kangaroo. Police said they were able to locate the animal's owner Thursday, and it was taken to a veterinarian to be treated for injuries believed to have resulted from collision with a car. That sucks. And that's it. They did say that they got the owner. Okay. So well, I'm glad that it got treated. You know, typical police. Did they take it directly to the vet, or did they let it spend the night in jail first before they gave it medical attention? Anyway, radio personality does 55-hour, 26-minute show in Australia. Hopefully that was some type of charity benefit, because why put yourself through that otherwise? I don't need to know how to do that. How to configure global elastic IP. I think I'll skip that one. A cattle truck collides with a semi hauling burritos on a Nebraska highway. Wow, that's a picture. This flopping back and forth between light and dark mode is going to be really... I'm going to have to figure out... hit myself with the mic. My apologies. I'm going to have to figure out a way to deal with that. Okay. Let's see here. Excuse me. Sorry to read the thing. A beefy mess was left on a Nebraska highway when a cattle truck and a semi hauling a load of burritos collided, police said. The Nebraska State Police said the burrito truck slowed for traffic on westbound Interstate 80 between Lincoln and Emerald. My apologies for the road noise in the background. So westbound between Interstate 80. Sorry, westbound on Interstate 80 between Lincoln and Emerald, and was rear-ended by a cattle truck. Okay. The cattle truck, carrying a load of about 60 cows, ended up in a ditch, and several boxes of frozen burritos ended up on the roadway. Police said neither driver was seriously injured. The cattle were offloaded into another truck to continue their journey. The stretch of highway was closed for about 7 hours for cleanup operations. 7 hours to clean up burritos. I mean, I've definitely had a burrito or two that caused 7 hours worth of cleanup on my... Never mind. I didn't say that out loud. Anyway. Superstitions, you maybe will come back to that. South Koreans grow younger overnight as the country changes how it counts people's ages. Seoul, South Korea. Okay. Let's try that again. Reading out loud sometimes challenges me. I don't know if that's become apparent yet. As Seoul, South Korea. Read the words that are in front of you. As South Korea campaigns to retire an old and odd age counting method that makes people a year or two older than they really are, children are among the few who seem most eager to stick to the past. I turned 6 and then became 5 again. Kim Dae-in said when a reporter asked her about the new law that went into effect on Wednesday that formalizes the international age counting method in administrative and civil laws and encourages people to tally their own ages accordingly. South Korea's traditional age counting custom considers every person 1 year old at birth and adds the year to the calendar. It adds another year when the calendar hits January 1st, meaning a child born on December 31st turns 2 the next day. That is interesting. It's like a cryptic form of time travel. Wow. So you don't really... Okay. That is... Clearly, definitely sounds like something that is steeped in tradition and might not be the most accurate thing on the planet. But at the same time, I can see why people would possibly not want to give up on things. While the new law is the country's latest attempt to retire the method that standardizes international ages based on the passing of birthdays, it is not immediately clear what will actually change, putting aside the minor frustrations of children like Dae-in waiting for their birthdays. President Yoon Suk-yeol, again, apologies for butchering names, has described standardizing international ages as a key goal of his government, citing the need to reduce social and administrative confusion and disputes. That is... for seemingly minor issues that politicians often pick up and carry the ball on because they don't want to address the big questions, this one rides an interesting line because, I would think the swapping about of people's ages or the rapidly advancing them in those probably a minority of situations where somebody is born in December and then turns 2, I could see how that would cause a lot of problems. And bureaucracy can really screw up your life. So, I think I'm on board with this as minor issues go, or seemingly minor issues. But officials in South Korea's Ministry of Government Legislation acknowledge that the new law won't meaningfully change how the country's public services are done, as most are already based on international ages. I assume that means that counting from 1 year from birth is 1 year old. International ages are the standard in most South Korean laws, and official and legal documents. Let's try that again. International ages are the standard in most South Korean laws, and official and legal documents. and define when a person goes to school, becomes eligible to drive and vote, and receives a pension. They still have pensions in South Korea. That's quaint. To be living in the United States. Still, the law was welcomed by... You know what? I just realized I should be making this bigger so it's actually visible on stream. Let's go to that. I don't care if the ads get screwed up. Still, the law was welcomed by Choi E-young, a 49-year-old resident of the capital, Seoul, who no longer feels the need to describe herself as being in her 50s. The law doesn't make you biologically younger, and there's no real benefits other than feeling good about being called a year younger than before. But that's the international standard. There's nothing bad in following it. Excuse me. Okay, moving down. It is always good to be younger, O said with a laugh, praising the new law for turning him 61 from 63. Interesting. My birthday is December 16th, and I became 2 years old less than a month after I was born. That's why the old counting method doesn't make sense. But 21-year-old Kim Si-eun was already missing the old counting method, which felt simpler to her. Korean-style age was actually easier to count. With everybody now going with international age, the changed age feels awkward. That's interesting. While the new law states that a person's age must be counted by the passing of birthdays for most public services, it does not affect the other age-related regulations that are based on yearly rules. Staying the same is the country's legal age for drinking and smoking, which are allowed January 1st of the year the person turns 19 in their international age, regardless of whether a birthday is passed. Okay, that's confusing to me. But again, it's not my culture. The new law doesn't affect when South Korean males become eligible to serve their mandatory military duty, which is from January 1st of the year they turn 18 in international age. Changing those age regulations would require revisions to the country's youth protection and military service laws. The government legislation ministry said. The mouth is giving me trouble tonight. Lee Won-koo, the government legislation minister, said that the new law is mostly aimed at reducing confusion in daily life and inspiring a change in social perception toward a more rational way of counting ages. Promoting international age as the social standard could be important in areas like healthcare. For example, a child could be at risk if his or her parents see a cough syrup instructions that reads 20 milliliters for 12 years and older and think it means Korean age, the ministry said in a statement. There have also been instances in which public transport users demand refunds after paying for their children's fares, thinking the free rides given to children under age 6 meant their Korean age. Differing age interpretations inspired a major dispute in 2004 at a dairy company in Namyang after unionists and management disagreed over the terms of their collective bargaining agreement that allowed the company to gradually reduce salaries of employees aged 56 or older. Okay, let's talk about the fucked upness of reducing people's salaries at a certain age, based solely on their age. I mean, granted, here in the U.S., that is... I'm not one to throw stones, but that's disturbing. I'm sure there's some economic and social context there that I just don't have, being, not from this world. I'm just an alien, what can I tell you? Following a years-long court battle over whether 56 meant the Korean age or the international age, the Supreme Court in 2022 ruled that the agreement should be interpreted as 55 years in international age, citing communication records between unionists. Choi Duck-sung, a 56-year-old office worker, said being younger is not always a benefit in a conservative society where age goes a long way in defining hierarchy. You are losing as much as 2 years, he said. Still, I think that this change should have been made much earlier. It's a good thing. The entire nation got younger together. That's I guess a hopeful point to end that whole article on. That was a lot. I did not realize this was a thing that happens in Korea. But then again, there are many, many things I'm sure that happen in Korea that I have no idea about because it's not where I live. And we don't get a lot of Korean news in the area of the U.S. where I'm currently living. That is so interesting. Okay. So, that was a worthwhile read. Octopuses tweak RNA in their brains to adjust to warmer and cooler waters. So the octopi will be able to survive global warming. That's good for them. I may come back to that one. We'll see. Give me a second here. A driver's car soared 120 feet after vaulting off of... I think I saw this. I think this was more of a... Wasn't this a social media meme for a while? A driver's car soared 120 feet after vaulting off a tow truck's ramp in Georgia. Why am I not surprised it happened in Georgia? They didn't get it in the air. Did they? Wait, alright. This is more about the read than the... I wasn't planning on sitting here and watching videos, but if this is the thing, I gotta see this. No, this is after the fact. Or is it? Oh no, they actually caught it. Oh my god. That is astounding. Well. Okay. I hope nobody was sitting in the tow truck. The wild scene straight out of an action movie. Let me make these bigger so they're visible on stream. The wild scene was straight out of an action movie, but it was recorded by a police camera. I don't think that the action movies would have had much better direction. And also, they would have had craft services and other things that this location absolutely did not have. A tow truck had lowered its ramp to clear a car crash on a Georgia highway, but then a motorist came from behind and drove onto the ramp at speed. Her sedan launched high into the air, soaring 120 feet before crashing back down to the roadway. The scary spectacle was captured on video by the body cam of the Loudoun County Sheriff Department, who was assisting with the initial crash on the westbound side of Georgia Highway 38 near what is that? Valdosta? I'm sure, again, pronunciation's not my thing. A 21-year-old woman from Tallahassee, Florida was driving... Why is it always Florida? Why? A 21-year-old woman was... A 21-year-old woman from Tallahassee, Florida was driving the sedan, according to police. She was taken to South Georgia Medical Center with what the incident report describes as suspected serious injuries. The crash took place on May 24th, but it attracted new attention after police video was released. The footage shows a wrecker sitting on the eastbound lane of the divided four-lane highway across from where the deputies and others were working at the crash scene. A Nissan Altima is then seen coming from behind the wrecker on the road where the posted speed limit was 65 miles per hour. The car then drives into the wrecker's ramp and vaults over the wrecker's cab. Yeah, I'm just I hope no one was sitting in the cab. The sedan twists in the air, landing on the side on the roof and rolling after glancing off of a car that was traveling in the right lane. The deputy shouts in surprise, then quickly reports the new emergency on his radio as he sprints toward the crash site. The Ultima comes to rest right side up. It's front facing back up. Excuse me? What the hell kind of sentence is this? The Ultima comes to rest right side up. It's front facing back up the road toward the truck. That could have been written better. The tow truck had its emergency lights on as it sat in the left lane, according to the incident report. The detail was not obvious on the video, as the vehicle doesn't have warning lights on its roof. An emergency worker who had been walking in front of the tow truck in the grassy median narrowly escaped what could have been a serious injury, as the initial collision sent a massive hunk of debris flying past him. A sheriff's deputy who was on foot at the scene was hit by airborne debris and was taken to the hospital as a precaution, according to the report. That's some fucked up shit. Well, interesting. Very interesting. I may have to double check something in that later. Did the Barbie movie really cause a run on pink paint? Probably. Sleep inside the world's only nuclear-powered passenger ship. That built in 1959. That does not sound like a good idea. It just doesn't. Step inside the world's only nuclear-powered passenger ship, built in 1959. Oh, come on, get fucked. Deep inside the port of Belmore, past stacks of shipping containers and a plant that makes wallboard, sits the world's first and only nuclear-powered cruise ship, the NS Savannah. The Savannah is the only nuclear-powered merchant ship the U.S. ever built, and the only nuclear vessel in the world designed with passengers in mind. As NPR's chief correspondent for all things atomic, I wanted to see her for myself. I wanted to see her for years. So when the opportunity came up to take a tour recently, I climbed aboard. It's a ship. Savannah's origin story began in the darkest days of the Cold War. In December of 1953, the very future of the world seemed to be in question. Unlike today, the Soviet Union had just detonated its first thermonuclear weapon. A year before, the United States had tested its own 10-megaton device on a remote Pacific island. The blast was so powerful, it wiped the island from the face of the earth. Always encouraging. God damn it. I lost my, give me 1 second. Sorry. I had the wrong thing up in the wrong place. Back up. Okay. Where was I? Sorry, I had to fix something on this end. Savannah's origin story. Savannah's origin story began in the darkest day. I read that part already. Come on, dude. In a speech before the United Nations, then President Dwight D. Eisenhower acknowledged the peril of facing the world, but he refused to accept the atom's only purpose was to vaporize mankind. Slightly forward-thinking of him, the United States knows that peaceful power from atomic energy is no dream of the future, Eisenhower told the assembled diplomats. The capability already proved is here today. Oh, got it. Yeah, that's 1950s design if I've ever seen one. Jesus fucking Christ. By the end of the decade, the U.S. government had built the Savannah as part of a program known as Atoms for Peace, which sought to demonstrate the good that nuclear energy could do. The ship was launched in 1959, and its 74-megawatt nuclear reactor was powered up in 1961. Anybody could buy a ticket. Erhard Kohler says, the senior technical advisor for the Savannah at the U.S. Department of Transportation's Maritime Administration, which owns the ship. Yeah, that's the thing. If that had taken off, then that means that you would have private corporations having vessels trucking around with fucking plutonium in them. That does not sound like a good idea. Or uranium. The ship was more of a proof of concept than an actual cruise ship. You think? It could carry just 60 passengers, and it also had cargo holds for transporting goods. Still, Kohler says that the ship was popular. It was fully booked throughout its history. That history was brief. Savannah only carried passengers from 1962 to 1965. Kohler says the decision to stop carrying passengers wasn't about safety, it was about economy. If you stopped carrying passengers, you could reduce the number of stewards and reduce the cost of the program. So what was it then, a freight vessel after that? And these are, damn, man. Compared to modern cruise ships, these are nice-sized cabins. You know, I've never been on a cruise ship myself, but the pictures that I've seen, a couch in a cabin, not likely. The ship did see plenty of visitors over. The ship did see plenty of other visitors over its history. Savannah traveled to some 45 foreign ports in 26. Mouth, please. Savannah traveled to some 45 foreign ports in 26 countries. It's estimated that well over 1 million people boarded the ship to see its nuclear reactor at work. To facilitate visitors, the Savannah sported an unusually large galley. When it was in port, they would serve 500 to 700 people in a meal, Kohler says. That is significant considering this. I mean, it does look nice and is definitely 1950s again. But 500 people? They must have been circulating. Okay. The Bohr model of the atom on the light fixture and I was going to say flatware. The cups and stuff, that's okay. While Savannah's nuclear reactor was revolutionary, the rest of the ship was actually unremarkable for the time it was built. It wasn't very state of the art, he says. It really was a time capsule of what was the norm in the U.S. merchant marine in the 1950s and 60s. Yeah, no shit. That is interesting. So that's made of wood, isn't it? Yeah, that's wood. Interesting. Or is it? Or is that... No, I'm pretty sure that sure is wood. Yeah. It doesn't look like metal. The arms especially. Okay. Kohler takes me down to the reactor control room. It is located below in the forward section of the ship. It's controlled by a pressurized water conductor that used low enriched uranium to produce the heat. The heat is then turned into steam that could run the ship's turbines. Spinning the propeller is also producing electricity. The Savannah could cruise at 20 knots, which is similar to the speeds of most cruise ships today. I'm sorry, that's scary as fuck. We come down past enormous turbines that once turned Savannah's propeller. The reactor control system is well lit. It's a small, one-of-a-kind system that allowed the ship's engineers to manage the reactor's power output as it plied the seas. Notably, the control room lacks any chairs. By and large, engineers in the 60s stood at their watch. They didn't sit, Kohler says. Yeah, I don't know. Seeing all this shit on a boat is just deeply troubling to me, considering what can happen with nuclear reactors. I understand how well they're built and all that stuff, and by this point I'm pretty sure they were already being built in a way where the safety systems actually were more likely to shut things down than let a meltdown happen. But still, the operators could also command an emergency shutdown or scram of the reactor core. Scrams were rare aboard the Savannah, but one did take place in 1964 when the ship passed through a hurricane. A backup auxiliary motor, run-off diesel power, kept the ship going while engineers restarted the reactor. Back in the ship's main lobby, Kohler shows me a small wooden cube. It represents the volume of uranium fuel needed to let the Savannah travel 454,000 nautical miles, enough to circumnavigate the world well over a dozen times. Traveling the same distance with conventional fuel would have required approximately 28 million gallons of fuel. But despite this dazzling efficiency, Savannah was never economically viable. It required special fuel handling facilities to load and unload its nuclear core. Yeah. And decommissioning the ship has taken decades and cost far more than it could have ever made moving cargo or people. There you go. In the early 1970s, the Savannah reactor was shut down and defueled. By that time, the ship had done what it was supposed to do, demonstrate a peaceful use for nuclear energy. The program was ended rather than continue to spend money for no real net effect, he says. The NS Savannah has never sailed again. In the 1980s and 90s, it was berthed at the Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum in South Carolina before being put into storage. Decommissioning the ship's nuclear components began in 2017. Wait, so it was sitting there for all those years with the fucking fuel on board? No, they must mean all the rest of the reactor. In November of last year, its reactor was removed and taken to Utah for disposal. So it was sitting there with, okay. Kohler says full decommissioning of the ship's nuclear components will take another 2 years or so. At that point, the Maritime Administration can dispose of the Savannah, Kohler says, but he hopes it will be protected. Our objective is not to scrap the ship, he says. Our objective is to see that the ship is preserved somehow. Interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, it's impressive, don't get me wrong, and we're going the wrong way on the Zoom. It is impressive, and I know that there's a lot of alarmist things about nuclear power, that it is actually much safer than most people readily believe. I've never had a problem with the science of it. Fission is messy as nuclear fuel goes, as opposed to fusion. But, like, long story short, I trust the scientists and the science behind it. I don't trust the process when that is handed off to government contractors. And again, we could not say that this is a better snapshot of the 1950s and 60s with any other picture of this place than this fucking couch. I mean, maybe the shot of the reactor room. I'll give you that. But this, whoo, gotta love that mid-century modern. The truth is, I actually do love mid-century modern architecture. I don't like mid-century modern furnishings. Anyway, so that was interesting. Let's see what else we've got here. The special ingredient for Mars travel meal prep? Astronaut breath. Interesting. Seriously. Okay, let's see. The ingredients for space yeast are fairly simple. Space yeast. Okay, I'm listening. Astronaut breath, water, yeast starter, electricity, a rolling pin, and we can make it happen, said Stafford Sheehan, a finalist in the NASA-sponsored Deep Space Food Challenge, told NPR. Okay, so my guess is the breath, before we go any further, all of these things are perfectly ordinary. The rolling pin, that's interesting. My guess would be that the astronaut breath provides CO2 that the yeast can consume. I don't remember exactly how that works. And the water is obvious that you mix the yeast with the water. The electricity, I'm not so sure. When I've made bread, the rare experiments when I've tried to make my own bread. Okay, let's just see. Put air, water, and yeast and yeast starter into Sheehan's handy machine. Wait about 2 hours, and voila, a protein shake textured yeast that can be dried and rolled into pasta or tortillas. This is where the rolling pin comes in. Really? A protein shake textured yeast. That sounds awful. Oh, I have a hard enough time eating whole wheat bread. Seriously? Back in 2017, Sheehan invented a process that can turn carbon dioxide into alcohol, which can then be turned into vodka, perfume, and yeast. Okay, so I was right about the carbon dioxide. Pretty much everything else I said was kind of off, but his company, Air Company, which he founded with his friend Gregory Constantine, is now in the third and final phase of the international contest to create novel, game-changing food technologies for long-term space missions. The food products have to require little resources and produce little waste while being safe to eat, nutritious, and tasty. Yeah, see, it's the tasty part of a protein shake type of paste and tasty don't go together for me. The goal is two-pronged. These edible innovations can help make the new exploration to Mars and deep space more feasible. They can also offer new, more sustainable avenues to feed people here on Earth. You know, people forget about that advances in quote-unquote pure science often have commercial applications and applications to the developing world where these type of things are scarce. The competition is in collaboration with the Canadian Space Agency. Along with Air Company, 7 other teams have advanced to the final round, where they will compete for up to $1.5 million. Among the other finalists are Florida-based Interstellar Lab, which created a bioregenerative system to produce fresh vegetables, mushrooms, and insects. Insects are a great source of protein, I know, but ugh. And Colorado-based Sated developed a cooking appliance that prepares meals from ingredients with long shelf lives. To understand how Sheehan's process works, let's start with carbon dioxide, the stuff we breathe out. Plants breathe in carbon dioxide. When plants take in a combination of carbon dioxide and sunlight and water, they're able to produce sugar and oxygen. This process is called photosynthesis. I knew that. These same elements that make sugar can also form alcohol. When the yeast starter eats alcohol, it makes a lot more yeast. Are you following? Mostly, yeah. Essentially, Air Company found a way to copy what plants do using astronauts' breath so that you can make edible nutritional yeast. We do the same chemistry that plants do, except we do it much more efficiently, Sheehan said. With nutritional yeast, a hungry astronaut can form pasta, tortillas, and satine, a popular protein source for vegans. Sheehan described the flavor as like wheat gluten, but a bit sweeter. Okay, if that's actually true, that's... Again, it's interesting. I don't know that I'd say right now that I like it. What else? So, why does space food matter? One word, Mars. Right now, scientists have figured out a lot of logistics regarding the journey to the red planet, except how to bring enough food. At best, it would take 7 months to get to Mars. To pack over a year's... wait a minute. Once again, at best, it would take 7 months to get to Mars. Only 7 months? That's interesting. To pack over a year's worth of food for a round trip with extra for snacks, of course, would be immensely heavy, too heavy for a rocket. Things that we don't know how to do yet is get enough stuff up into the pathway between Earth and Mars to sustain people for the trip, Sheehan said. The contestants of the Deep Space Food Challenge look to answer that question and make the long-awaited mission to Mars more feasible. A second important mission, fight of climate change, developing space food can also have some profound impacts on Earth. Right now, space food requires a lot of money to develop, but Sheehan said that doesn't have to be the case in the future. He compared it to solar energy, which also has origins in space innovation. Thank you. Solar panels were once incredibly expensive, but now they're affordable, ubiquitous, and a tool to fight climate change. True. Sheehan's hope is that the same will happen for products made at Air Company. Not only can his company make yeast from carbon dioxide, but it can produce sustainable aviation fuel, he said. That's interesting. If we were able to produce fuel from carbon dioxide in the air rather than having to dig it out of fossil fuels, that really helps to stop climate change. I'm going to have to look into that a little bit deeper because that does sound very sustainable, but from what I know of replacements for fossil fuels such as ethanol, that the processing in order to make it often washes out the environmental benefit. So I got to take another look at that information. By not relying on fossil fuels, Sheehan also envisions his product can help people become more energy independent. Once we get to the same scale as the fossil fuel industry, then we can make it for prices that are closer to the cost of what you would get fossil fuels at, he said. The work we do with NASA is to help make that possible. That is actually pretty cool. I'm impressed. Of course, you got the gotcha headline, which is I shouldn't be surprised by. So yeah, interesting. Astronaut breath as a catalyst for food manufacture. Totally understandable. Oh wow, I was just clipping. Oh, I hope I'm not scratchy throughout the stream. I guess we'll see. It should be fine. I've got quite a bit of gain on this mic because I'm having some issues with my audio setup. I have streamed on multiple channels, and I gotta tell you, the audio is by far the worst. Okay, so I think I'm going to take a quick break, and then I will come back and we'll go through some more stories. So in the meantime, enjoy the music, and I will see you soon. Okay, welcome back, friends. I just want to check something right now. Anyway, I just want to see how badly, pardon me. I thought I had the audio dialed in before I started today, but it seems like I'm going into the red, and I actually clipped out before, so I'm just talking a little more directly into the mic. There we go. There was a clip, supposedly. So I'm just going to double check that when I'm done. Let's see what else is happening in the world. Let's see. Porta potty truck crash leaves mass road littered with toilet paper. Yeah. I want to know what that's about. All right. Seriously? Mr. Ad, could you not? Thank you. That's littered with toilet paper? Is that all of it? Like, get it all together? Okay. This is going to be interesting. Toilet paper was seen on a street in Revere, Massachusetts on Monday morning after a crash that involved a porta potty truck. The crash happened on Furlong Drive at Revere Beach Parkway, where the police and fire crews were seen responding and cleaning up debris left behind. It is unclear exactly how the crash unfolded, but it appeared to have involved two trucks. One person appeared to be hurt during the incident. Additional details have not yet been made available. So that was a quick one. I don't know. I'm glad that they didn't have that much to clean up, and I hope that no one was serious. Well, it does say one person appeared to be hurt. Hopefully not seriously. But I was expecting a hell of a lot more toilet paper. I mean, you got to be preemptive about that stuff. You got to stock up properly. Still, better that it's not. Okay, so let's give me just a second here. I'm gonna go up to a different news feed because now that we've gotten through the fun stuff, I do want to see if what there is now in terms of real news. You know what? Let's do the obvious one. Yeah, let's check it out. Let's see what's going on here, because I am wondering how this is being spun in the news. Twitter temporarily. Okay, I don't remember it saying temporarily when I saw reports earlier from the elongated Muskrat's tweets. Twitter temporarily restricts tweets users can see, Elon Musk announces. Oh, man. Twitter has applied a temporary limit. There was no mention of it being temporary earlier today when I saw the tweets. Temporary limit to the number of tweets users can read in a day, owner Elon Musk said. In a tweet of his own, Mr. Musk said unverified accounts are now limited to reading 100 posts a day, which is ridiculous. For new unverified accounts, the number is 500. Meanwhile, accounts with verified status are currently limited up to 10,000 posts per day. The tech billionaire initially set stricter limits, but he changed these within hours of announcing the move. Common thread with Mr. Musk. Mr. Musk said the temporary limits were to address extreme levels of data scraping and system manipulation. Very unlikely. First of all, there's no law against data scraping. That's just reading the frickin' site. System manipulation, I believe, is his euphemism for they're reading the site without paying me, and I am a tantruming child who wants his toys to be the shiniest toys in the room. He did not explain what was meant by system manipulation in this context. Big surprise. We're getting data pillaged so much that it was degrading the service for normal users. No, it wasn't. Mr. Musk explained on Friday, after users were presented with screens asking them to log in to view the Twitter account. The move was described as a temporary emergency measure. It is not totally clear what Mr. Musk is referring to by data scraping, but it appears he means the scraping of large amounts of data used by artificial intelligence companies to train large language models, which power chatbots such as OpenAI's ChatGPT and Google's Bard. In simple terms, data scraping is the pulling of information from the internet. Large language models need to learn from masses of real human conversations. True. But the quality is vital to the success of a chatbot. Reddit and Twitter's huge trove of billions of posts are thought to be hugely important training data for and used by AI companies. This is true. But platforms like Twitter and Reddit want to be paid for this data. Tough shit. That's not how that works. You put up a public site that shows public information. That's your business model. I understand wanting to mitigate people taking all the data that you've collected publicly and then using it to basically take over your business. But isn't that kind of how things work in the information age? Like, really? I mean, that's kind of what Twitter and Reddit did. Like, they became places where there were hubs of information because they were capitalizing on information that people posted to the site. And there's no problem with them using it. Anyway, in April, Reddit's chief executive, Steve Huffman, moron, told the New York Times that he was unhappy with what AI companies were doing. That is understandable, but the time to plan for this was not when the barn door, like the horse is already out of the barn. The Reddit corpus of data is really valuable, he said, but we do not need to give all of that value to some of the largest companies in the world for free. You mean like Reddit? Twitter has already started charging users to access its application programming interface, and losing them, I might add, which is often used by third-party apps and researchers, which can include AI companies. There are potential other reasons for the move too. Mr. Musk has been pushing people towards Twitter Blue. It's a paid subscription service. It's possible he's looking at a model where users will have to pay to get full Twitter service and access to unlimited posts. Signaling by a blue tick, verified status was given for free by Twitter to high-profile accounts before Mr. Musk took over as its boss. Now most users have to pay a subscription fee from $8 a month to be verified and can gain status regardless of their profile. According to the website Down Detector, which tracks online outages, a peak of 5,126 people reported problems accessing the platform in the UK at 1612 BST on Saturday. In the US, roughly 7,461 people reported glitches around the same time. Considering the entire Twitter user base, those are very small numbers. That's interesting. And that is... I'm going to be honest with you, and I hate giving this man credit for anything. And I don't give him credit for it. This is more of a credit to the engineers that are working under him. If they made a change, I mean, admittedly, the change should be seamless if you're going to deploy something, but seamless to your users. But a total of 10,000 people, and not 10,000, excuse me, that's 7,000, 12,500 people reported glitches out of a user base of millions of people. It's actually a really small percentage. So anyway, initially Mr. Musk announced reading limits of 6,000 posts per day for verified accounts. 600 for unverified accounts and 300 for new unverified accounts. Does that include the Nazis, or did they get a pass on this? In another update, Mr. Musk said several hundred organizations, maybe more, were scraping Twitter data extremely aggressively. There's no such thing as extremely aggressively scraping. Scraping is scraping. Just to clarify, because this article hasn't done a very good job of it, scraping data is reading the web page, okay? Admittedly, it is an automated way to read a web page, but all they're doing is accessing the site. And if you are using the API, you're not scraping data, you're getting it through the API, the Advanced Programming Interface. Scraping is when you don't use the API and you just have a bot read the fucking site, which is a public site, and that's your business. He later indicated there has been a burden on his website, saying it was rather galling to have to bring large numbers of servers online on an emergency basis. Again, life in the tech industry. You supposedly know how this shit works. A server is a powerful computer that manages and stores files, providing services such as web pages for users. Adam Leon Smith from BCS, the UK's professional body for IT, said the move was very odd, as limiting users' scroll time would affect the company's advertising revenue. Another no shit moment. Mr. Musk bought the company last year for $44 billion after much back and forth. He was critical of Twitter's previous management and said he did not want the platform to become an echo chamber. No comment. Soon after taking over, he cut the workforce from just under 8,000 staff to 1,500, first of many bonehead moves. In an interview with BBC, he said that cutting the workforce has not been easy. Engineers were included in the layoffs, and their exit raised concerns about the platform's stability, as we have seen. But Mr. Musk acknowledged some glitches. He told the BBC in April that outages had not lasted very long, and the site was working fine. It wasn't. Welp. No surprises there. Jesus Christ. He is a moron, that's for sure. Okay, well, that's what Mr. Musk has to offer. So, yeah, it's interesting about the whole goddamn Twitter thing. I think that, smart people everywhere have been very clear on the fact that this guy is an idiot. And his primary skill is crafting this image that he's going to be the world's next supervillain. And as you get more and more information about him, you realize that, yeah, that's actually the case, except for the try-hard tech bros who don't have a brain cell between them, who just want to believe that he is the next coming of the Messiah. So, yeah, had enough of him. Everybody else going over to Blue Sky when it opens up? Is that what's happening next? Because Twitter is obviously going down. Anyway, I really had planned to end the stream on a much higher note than that. But I just had to see how that was playing in the press. In any case, that's going to do it for me tonight. I was just feeling the whole streaming thing out again at this point. I really just wanted to kind of come on and try and experiment a little bit, and figured I'd, be live while I read stories that honestly I would have read anyway, because I use this kind of news to kind of combat the relentless onslaught of, all the other news that we get that is disheartening. But yeah, that's going to do it for me tonight. Like I said, I know it's a quick stream compared to how most people stream on Twitch. Maybe doing it a bit longer in the future as I feel this thing out. And regardless, thank you all for watching, hanging out, and I will, I don't know when I'll be back because I haven't done a set schedule yet. Like I said, still figuring it out. But Twitter, for as long as it's there, will probably be the best place to find me. I do also have an Instagram and all that other stuff. Twitter is working class ALN because Twitter's usernames suck. And I'm working class alien on everything else, Instagram, TikTok, what have you. So, yeah, until next time, thanks for watching, and I will see you soon. I hope you all have a nice evening. good weekend, all that good stuff.